Portland Housing Bureau Progress Report and Strategy Discussion, and Dana Ingram, if you will come and join us. And, home ownership and PHC. Did you want Jackie to join you now, or is she joining later?
She can join me in just a second.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
They just stay on. Yeah.
All right. Good evening. All right.
Hello.
All right. Perhaps you want to introduce yourself first, and then I'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah, I'm Carl Dinkelspiel. I'm the manager of the affordable housing programs at the Portland Housing Bureau.
And my name is Dana Ingram, and I've just wrapped up my second month of managing the neighborhood housing programs.
Well, look at you.
All right. So I will move on to give you all an update on our progress towards homeownership in just a little while, and invite Jackie up here. And I think last time I did let you all know, that was my first time as the program manager, and I believe Director Callahan was speaking. However, I just wanted to reiterate that I don't think I shared this with you all before, that I am actually a proud member of the inaugural POF Leadership Academy. So I'm really proud of my cohort members who wrote that letter to the media and to PDC. So I am a part of that graduating class of 2013. So on top of that, I also manage I have been for the last 4 years, so at the onset, really early stages of the North-Northeast strategy, been a member of this team already, managing the contracts, subrecipient contracts of many of our partners, delivering the services for home repair, home retention, and home ownership, and all of these partners with charged with this very challenging and meaningful work. So just wanting to let you all know, if you were not here last time, that I have been a part of this team for a very long time. So moving on, we are approaching the last 12 months as far as the homeownership goals go, with reaching the 65 households into homeownership. And I believe in your report, your annual report to City Council at the beginning of the year, the mayor called it an abstract failure.
Absolutely.
So the reason why I bring that up right now is because you'll see in this progress report, there hasn't been a lot of change as it relates to numbers. So I just want to prepare you to, like, soon in the next coming months, that we'll be presenting a plan that definitely considers the challenges we face, the lessons learned, the mistakes, and all of such. So I believe you've heard from Shannon, who at that time accepted full responsibility for the mistakes that the Bureau has made. And so what that means for all of us as staff of the Bureau, that means that we all accept responsibility and we're charged with turning things around. And so that's what we're committed to doing. So let's move on. Before we go into the homeownership section, I just wanted to bring this up, and hopefully, Dr. Holt, we can have a vote regarding this. So back in July of 2017, the committee did approve a boundary expansion to include all of the interstate URA as it related to home ownership subsidies.
Correct. For folks. Grab the mic.
The slides are
page 11 in the packets for folks that are following.
Yeah, they got a little turned around. Sorry about that. So that was approved by the committee in July of 2017. And as we look back at all of the programs and all of the goals of the North-Northeast strategy, and myself managing the other programs, like I said, home retention and the home repair programs, I just would hope that you all would consider expanding those boundaries for those two programs as well, home repair and home retention and the home loans. So
when you asked for us to consider expanding, that means what specifically.
Yes. So outside of just the north-northeast strategy area that overlaps the interstate corridor into the whole interstate corridor. And what that will do for us actually is make sure that we actually can capture enough households to meet our goals, and that other homes that are in, or homeowners in the URA can actually access the home repair loans and home repair grant program.
So Dana, would you do me a favor just to bring people up to speed so that the committee is clear when we're talking about the home repair and home retention strategies, what that engages or what that entails, and then when we talk about expanding the boundaries, what that means also. If you could just kind of land it a little bit. Yes, Sheila. Remember, we've got a question name tag on the side, but that's okay. I got you already.
So, and it's, I know I shouldn't ask this, but is there a map that shows the overlay?
There is one, and it is on the website, and I apologize for not having that here available tonight. And I can make sure that you all
But
get that.
you're talking about the area that we've already agreed to expand to. So it's the same boundary
It's the same
that
exact-
we've already agreed to extend the boundary for to include the entire URA as it relates to housing opportunities. Now you're just asking for us to agree to extend it for home retention and home repair.
Yes.
So it's not new boundary.
No.
It's just matching this program with the boundary we've already extended.
That is absolutely correct. It is no different from what you've already approved for the homeownership subsidy.
Any questions from the Oversight Committee in regard to what's being asked tonight for us to consider? Could you talk a little bit about what those home programs are?
Sure, absolutely. So in the North-Northeast strategy, there are goals set, and I apologize, don't have those exact, but I can kind of give you an idea. For home repair loans, that is our loan program that allows $40,000 going into loan. This is actually a forgivable loan after 15 years. And then the home repair grant program, and it can go up to $10,000 per home. And so obviously it's a grant, so therefore the home buyer is not on the hook for repaying that at all. So those are the two programs that we're talking about. We also have home retention, and we do plan on building our home retention program.
So for the loans and for the grants, the homeowner can use them for what?
We try to keep the loans, obviously we want to address the critical health and safety needs first, and then we could work on other things. We are trying to keep things that are actually attached to the home, much like the DPAL, the subsidy, and as far as the grant portion of the home improvement goes. But definitely there are some older homes, there are older homeowners, and we want to be able to address their needs so that they remain in their homes and can age in their homes. And so the same with the grant program, the different community partners that we have do different things, but a lot of them provide accessibility. They address any, like again, critical health and safety, weatherization needs, all of the things as such.
Excellent. Any questions from the Oversight Committee?
I only have one. Are you asking for a vote tonight?
If that is possible. If not, we can wait.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a quorum. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4,
We don't have a
5,
quorum.
6.
Do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do. We've got 10 members, and there are 6 of us here
Oh.
tonight.
Yeah, you're right. 2, 4.
So we do. We do have a quorum. And I actually have two, so there are 2 individuals who are not going to make tonight's meeting. One is Dr. Lisa Bates, and the other is Tristan Dallas. And Lisa has already been talked to regarding this and has voted yes. She's in a favor of extending that. So I think we should go ahead and entertain making a determination around it. But before we do that, are there any questions about the program? Is there a way for us to get that mic to? Yeah, I'll get it. Thank you.
Are we on track or on goal to meet the goals that we've set out budget-wise for these 2 programs?
For home repair grants, we are absolutely on track as far as when we look at all of the funds that are available. But when it comes to North-Northeast funds, being that we've had so many We've had other resources. We have not focused so much on the grants in that area, but the proposal that will be coming forth at the beginning of the year or the end of this one would be a plan or recommendation that we increase the grant amounts up to $10,000, and that wasn't included in the original plan. So not to go too specific on things, but we are on track, and the community partners are absolutely delivering on the grants and are recognizing that there needs to be more money in homes, because right now what their limit is $5,000. So it's not going very far.
Yeah.
And as far as the home repair loan programs, we did have some success last year. And so, again, there is a little bit of a capacity thing that we're working with inside of the Bureau just to make sure that we can keep up with everything. But again, this plan that's coming forth will take all of that into consideration.
Okay.
Refresh my memory with the home repair program. The folks who are taking advantage of the loan, they're able to have wraparound services or technical services, and what are those technical services again?
I am glad that you asked that. We did hear you when you spoke about those wraparound services, and so that's a part of the retention that I was speaking about, that we are actually in the process of developing that. We have a retention services right now. PCRI does provide home retention services along with a couple of our other partners, but PCRI has been providing that for a very long time. But we do want to actually provide more services. And so Shannon actually did set aside some funding to focus on that. And so we are trying to develop that program.
Any other questions?
Are there specific parameters around the types of repair? Do you cover foundation to roof to siding to windows?
Windows, siding, plumbing. We want to make sure that the home is livable. We want to make sure also that we have construction coordinators that can actually write scopes of work and determine and make sure that the investment into the home doesn't just, but something else happens. There's no sense in fixing something inside the house if the roof is leaking or if there's foundation issues. So we do have skilled construction coordinators that go out and take a look. But there are limits to a degree, but usually with these homes, we are really addressing the critical needs first. Absolutely.
Perfect. Any other questions from the committee? What committee do you think we're in a position? Oh, there's two things I want to ask. One is, by expanding, what do we anticipate that meaning? So if we expand and say, yeah, let's do that, what does that potentially mean? What's the result of that?
That means that it'd be a little easier to meet those goals, actually, because we'd actually be able to have enough households to serve. And then we're really, really focusing on our ability to serve them in a timely manner. We're really trying to work on that. But if it is just limited to this smaller geographic area, it is possible that we will run out of homes to serve.
Do we have an idea of what the need is?
We actually have done, as far as we've done a few things way back a long time ago, but our one of our program loan coordinators who does the servicing, she actually receives the calls. So people constantly call and they're wondering if their services. And so right now we do have interstate TIF to make up for that, but we know that there's a need because people are definitely calling. And right now she's taking a list of people that, we can't serve right away, but absolutely there's a lot of calls coming in the outskirts of the North-Northeast strategy area, but still in the interstate corridor.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Sheila?
Does the expansion accommodate long-term residents, home ownership retention?
Yes, it does. Yes.
And specifically Black homeowner retention?
There is no preference policy overlay on the home repair loan program at all, or home repair grant program. I can say that there is not. But I do believe, and I'm sorry that I don't have it, when you look at the information, I think even in the annual report, it does indicate the demographics. And to be honest with you, there are more households of color that access the grant over the loan program. And I can give you a few reasons why I believe that to be.
I just want to say it's kind of ironic because under the ICRAC, one of our goals had been homeowner retention, especially for seniors through the home repair program, and we didn't have the wraparound services that allowed for the education or the technical assistance to match with the bricks and mortar.
Right.
And then to have now, having all that and not being able to actually address that is problematic for me. And I would prefer if we had been able to, since we didn't get it right and do it the first time around, that now we can do it, that we put emphasis on that group, because that's why we're all sitting around the table here.
Right. Understand.
Absolutely. I would imagine that in the strategy, provided that this gets passed and we agree to do it, I would imagine in the strategy, part of the intent is to be very specific around marketing and making communities aware and engaging families, historic homeowners, people of color, and so forth, and informing them and educating them. Is that
Yes.
safe to assume that?
Absolutely, it's safe to assume that we'll actually develop a marketing strategy to target the folks that you're speaking about. In the plan, it does speak about income, with targeting folks at the 50% median family income and lower. And so again, I would like to present a recommendation to you all that encompasses exactly what you're saying as well.
Okay. Well, Oversight Committee, do you feel like you're informed enough to make a determination or make a recommendation in regard to it? Yeah? Okay. I will begin with you, Sheila, and we will come this way. In terms of expanding the entire area to encompass the whole URA, to match what we've expanded around home ownership, what say you, if you're in favor or against?
I'm in favor of the expansion. I'm also in favor of strong marketing to the group that this should be targeted for, from my perspective.
Thank you very much. Dr. Edwards.
I'm in favor as well.
Thank you very much. Morales.
So am I.
Thank you.
I'm in favor as well.
Yes.
Wonderful. So am I. So,
Thank you.
yeah, we want to help as many people as possible.
Yes.
So we just, and so I would also ask then that we get a report on, part of our quarterly reporting, that we're made aware of what's happening.
Yes.
So we know. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Perfect. Oh, we're going to pause for a moment because our food has arrived. And also, if you look at your agenda, that there is a 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock item that's actually not going to happen tonight. We've got some key people who are not present to engage thoroughly on this item. Unfortunately, unexpected health issues. So we were going to have some time we will dialogue to some degree, but we won't go to the depth of what we had anticipated. What we anticipated doing from our last meeting was to really go into making a decision around URA recommendation. We will not do that here tonight. So we're going to take a few minutes. I want to give everybody an opportunity to get something to eat. Who would like to, so give us about 10, take about a 10-minute break. Let's do that. Thank you.
We'll come back then.
And we'll come back with you. You're enjoying what is provided, and we will reconnect, and it is back in your hands, Dana.
Okay. Oh, sure. Yep. All right. All right, moving on. So again, just wanted to give you an update on our progress as far as reaching the goal that's stated in the North-Northeast strategy. Oh, we are on page number 12. We had to skip around, page 12. So the goal for homeownership was 65 new homeowners identified through the PHB homeownership preference policy with the Northeast TIF resources. So I just wanted to give you all an update as to where we are with things. And so I actually gave a little more information other than just the Northeast resources, because I think it's very important that we recognize the preference policy households that have become homeowners that have used other resources or have not had the need to use any resources for whatever reason. And that's very important, because I believe that the partners that we work with, and you see them here, have done the work to create those homeowners as well. So what we have here is 13 preference policy households that have become homeowners, and seven of those are new homeowners with the Northeast resources, 2 new homeowners with the Prosper Portland resources, and then 4 additional preference policy households became homeowners without PHB subsidy. So again, just wanted to let you know that there are 13 new preference policy households. And so when we look at the number 65, sometimes folks ask about, they're just asking about that number, but there's more work being done, and this does not include at all the other work that the partners are doing with other resources, the Housing Bureau base allocation of funds as well. So just wanted to share that with you all.
When you say 13, we're talking about in what time frame?
I want to be clear. I don't want to.
Is it this year?
It is not. So we talk about the Northeast strategy. This is my chance to make a couple of dates really clear. We talk about the Northeast strategy being in 2016. However, the partners that we were working with at the time, the Ah Collaborative and PCRI, the Housing Bureau provided the first set of names to those partners at the very end of 2016. So they didn't really begin working with folks until 2017. We talk about 3 years a lot of the time, and they didn't really start working with those folks until the very end of 2016.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're saying these new homeowners are from 2017 till?
Yes, till now, till today.
That do not include the other 4?
No, this does include the 4 that we had as well.
Okay.
It does include the 4.
Okay.
Absolutely. So this is all homeowners identified through the preference policy for homeownership. This is the
So
total.
9 additional. Is that
I
correct?
would say that when we reported the 4, we probably did not report the 1 Prosper Portland, and that was probably already there, and we probably reported 0 for anyone that did not buy without subsidy, because that is hardly ever the question that's asked about preference policy folks that have become homeowners. So I believe the question at that time was how many towards our 65 household goal, and that answer was 4 at the time. So again, and that is, I understand that the Oversight Committee is charged, and we are really focused on that 65 goal. I understand that, but I think it's just very important to take some time to look at how many people have become homeowners. And you'll hear in the report from the Portland Housing Center that there are several other homeowners that have become mortgage ready as well.
Okay. I will hold other questions for now. Let you keep going.
All right. So I think that that's it for me. We'll have Jackie go ahead and come on up here.
Hi, Jackie.
Okay, do I need to introduce myself or?
You can to everybody else.
Okay. So my name is Jackie Butts. I am the Homeownership Program Director at Portland Housing Center and the Interim Lending Manager as well. I like to get that in every once in a while. So I am going to update you on the work that we're doing with the current preference policy clients that we are working with. I thought it would be a good idea, based upon the last meeting, to give an overview of how we are working with the clients. So just to give you an idea of the process that they're going through, once Portland Housing Bureau identifies a client for us, we invite them to an orientation. During that orientation, we get them through a Jumpstart program.
Page 2.
Okay. We get them through a jump start to start working on their mortgage readiness. We also complete their registration at that time, and before they leave, they set an appointment with a dedicated counselor for preference policy clients. Once they meet with that client, we do a full assessment of mortgage readiness and their eligibility for the programs. We then take a look at their credit reports, budgeting, and so forth. Together, they will work out an action plan with their counselor for us to follow up on. That will determine the time frame and the challenges that they have to get mortgage ready. We do our follow-up with them. When they become mortgage ready, we then give them the options of the different programs that are available that they qualify for, whether it be Habitat, Proud Ground, or using a DPAL for down payment assistance. And when they are then going on and shopping, we continue working with them with home buyer education and support them throughout the process. So I thought it would be a good idea to have an understanding of how we are working with those clients. And so now I will just give you an update of where we are. Currently, we're working with 34 clients have been referred to us. 10 have been recommended for rescindment or for future rounds. And that would depend on whether their income qualified for the program or not, what their time frame for readiness would be to be able to qualify for the deadline for this program. We've had one person purchase with Prosper Portland Resources. 4 clients are mortgage ready. And then we have 60 clients in the pipeline that we're going to meet with next week. Just to give you a bit more detail on that, of the clients, we've had 4 clients who qualified for Habitat. Up to this date, they have met with, 2 have met with Habitat. They did not want to go forward with the units that were available, so we'll meet with them when they come back to talk to our counselor about what the next steps are. And at the time that we put this together, the other 2 have not yet met with Habitat, so we're waiting for that outcome. We've had, again, 10 people transferred to the rescindment. We had 4 people who are mortgage ready and are in the process of shopping for their home or getting pre-approved. We had 1 person purchase, and we have 14 slots that we're working with towards mortgage readiness, and we still have not met with 1 of the clients from that initial round. Just to give you an idea now of the criteria that we're looking for, give you an update on the household finances. In total, we're working with 22 active participants to get them ready. Of that 22, we've only been able to get additional updates from 13 participants. So that's showing to be a challenge to get everyone engaged and to follow up, but we'll continue to reach out with them and follow our process. So this update is based upon the 13 households. So you will see, my eyes aren't that good, we have 38% of those people have increased their qualifying income for loans. 15% have reduced their debt or minimum down payment debt or minimum monthly debts. We've shown an increase, 69% have shown an increase in household savings, and 23% have moved their mortgage readiness status. So they may have moved from long-term to near ready or near ready to short-term to ready. So we are seeing some progress in the clients moving towards mortgage readiness.
Jackie, before you run, can you just explain that last one a little bit more to me? Help me understand when you say long-term to short-term, what that.
So when we look at when we're saying long-term or short-term, so this client may be, and there's another slide that will address it.
Okay.
The client may be 12 months out, so that may be long-term. So short-term may be, 6 months or 3 months. So they're moving up a slot. So they're progressing towards mortgage readiness, so that's a good thing, yes. This is going to give us an overview of what the household income ranges that we're working with. And so you'll see that we have about 40 or 63% of our households from the green bar up are at $45,000 or more in household income. So that's a good indicator that they will be able to purchase within the market or within the programs that we have. And then we have another 8 clients who are at $30,000 or below. In terms of credit score, here's where we are having a challenge. We'll see that 11 clients, or 50%, have credit scores of 640 or under. That will be a challenge in getting them mortgage ready. So these are the things that we're working on with them to improve their credit. And then we do have, some of our clients, 8, 9, 10 clients who are 640 or above. So we're doing the breakdown in terms of what their credit score. And that's important because the credit score is one of the indicators of whether or not they will be approved for a mortgage. In looking at the debt to income ratios for our clients, we can see that we have a good amount of a majority of the clients have 10% or lower in current debt to income. And for DTI, just for clarification, that is a measurement of how much your monthly debt is compared to your gross monthly income. The lower the DTI, the greater affordability you have in taking on additional mortgages. So that's actually a good sign for us. When it comes to savings, we see right now we have a good amount of the clients have less than $1,000 in savings. The challenge there is even if they are working with our DPAL, they're still going to have some money to help with the closing cost. But the biggest challenge that the clients are having overall is credit score and debt to income. And so this is where we have the measurement of mortgage readiness. We have 12 clients who are still long-term, greater than 6 months. We have 1 client who is short-term, 4 clients who are near ready, so we will look for those clients to move into mortgage readiness. So this is just a measurement of where the clients are in terms of how long it will take them based on the action plans and what they're doing to get mortgage ready and to be able to be approved for a loan. And so our next steps right now, because we are only working with 22 active clients, we have invited 60 additional households to an orientation that we're holding on the 14th. As of today, I believe 34 households have responded that they will attend, about a total of 47 individuals. What we are looking to do is to maybe have another one on a Saturday. We're just trying to find different ways to make ourselves available or time that we can get everybody in. So we are looking to work with an additional 60 people. We will continue to assess the clients that we're working with. We pull credit on a quarterly basis. So the next time I present, we should have finite mortgage readiness based upon the actual data as opposed to what's being self-reported. And then we are also just going to continue working with Proud Ground and Habitat to work out a process of how we refer those clients and what that handoff is going to be so that it's very smooth for the client. And that's it. So with that, I'll take any questions that you may have. Okay, thank you.
I do have a question.
Yes.
And a question on the demographics and savings. Do you have any type of estimate of what it might be in terms of dollars they need to save to cover closing costs? Or is it a percentage of something?
It depends on the program that they're using. We would want them to have at least 3% of the purchase price that they're going to use. That's and it depends upon the loan program. But I would say if we want to give them clients a dollar amount, $3,000 to $5,000 would be good because we also don't want them to go into the home cash poor. And we do have the DPAL. We have programs that can help them with down payment and closing costs, but we do want them. It is in their best interest to have some additional savings.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Cupid.
This is great information, Jackie, so thank you for that. I was looking at slide number 5, and there's a line on there that says transfer to waitlist referred for rescindment. Are all the 10 individuals going to be rescinded, or do they have the opportunity to?
No, some of them have gone onto the wait list, so They were rescinded, and the only reason they would be rescinded is if maybe their income was greater than what the program allowed. We would put them on the wait list if their current mortgage readiness, they were not going to be able to be ready in time for the deadline of
So you
this
continue
timeframe.
to work
So
with
we
some of them?
continue
so
to
they
work
can-
with them,
Okay.
yes. And if there's other opportunities that come up, then they'll be prepared for that.
That's great, thank you.
So just so I'm clear, piggybacking, the PHB list is made up of people that have come through other agencies?
The current list that we're working with now, those 60, they'll be coming in fresh to us. They would not have been working with anyone else.
Dr. Edwards, was the question all the individuals currently are from the previous list, and are all of the new people that are about to be of the 60 coming from the PHB preference policy list?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
So is that a second run of the preference policy, or is that the first
I don't
run?
necessarily think it's a second run. They're just assessing the people who sign up for preference policy and then sending them over. So
Okay.
Yeah, it's still,
So we're going-
still from the
that might be a
first round.
question for PHB to answer.
The 60 are still from the first round of applications.
Any other questions from the oversight?
I think it's actually for Matthew. How many people out of the original 65 have dropped out or been rescinded? Do you know?
I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I can get those for you.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Yep.
Marlon?
So how long did it take to reach to this point where to the numbers that you have for a number of clients?
How long did it take us to?
Yeah.
Are you asking how long that PHC has had this process that has taken them to get here?
Yeah.
Or how long has it taken for the overall process?
For PHC?
Thank you.
So we've been working with clients for 2 months. 2 months? Yeah.
That's fast.
Any other questions? Yes. You want to grab that one, Sheila?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I received an email today from Collaborative. It was a very positive email, and it looks forward to working with everyone going forward. But I was impressed with the number of homes owners that they had been able to put in place, both with and outside of the funding that's provided by the organization. What struck me was we needed to get control of how things were going and have both the housing and department and the organizations work together and figure out how they can be flexible in doing so and making things work for the client. And so I'm wanting to have a clear understanding, especially after going to the open house today with PCRI and seeing the kind of success that even through many troubles. Is that the correct word I wanted to say?
Make up a word, it's okay.
Yeah, that one.
Trials, troubles,
Trials
trebles.
and travel.
Yeah.
Tribulations.
Yeah, Pastor, help me out.
But I like it.
And so I really wanted to ask you what's different this time that it can be faster, quicker, and more efficient, and actually make it so that the folks who are coming through, nobody gets left behind, that they're given a route. It may not be the most immediate route, but it's a route that they can kind of see the end and see where their opportunity might be toward home ownership.
Well, I can't speak to what the process the clients went through with the other organizations. I mean, we've partnered with all the other organizations. Every organization creates homeowners, and they have success in the process that they do. The only thing I could speak to is the process that we have and the way we follow up and work with our clients, and to be able to give you the data and the tracking. So not that it's better, we do it differently. And so I can't say whether one way is better than the other. I'm just familiar with how we do it. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's about the only answer I could give you. I can't give you a reason why. I could only speak to what we are doing with the clients now.
Well, and the proof will be in the results.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. One of the things we asked for was a report on the MWESB and workforce training progress. In our last meeting, we kind of got this overview, and we asked for a deeper dive to give us some more clarity around what that information means. And so, to that extent, Bobby Daniels, project manager, PHB.
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, my name is Bobby Daniels. I've been with the Housing Bureau for about 4 years now, and I guess I kind of want to start a little back. I'm a first-generation Portland, Oregon resident. I was actually born at Best Kaiser when it was Best Kaiser and not a sneaker company. And I actually applied to go to Penn State. I don't know if they do that still.
Yep,
and,
you
and
still
got
have to apply.
okay, got, and got in. I was hoping to be the next AC Green, but that didn't work out. And then I actually graduated from the Portland State University. My background is architecture. And then I took a pay cut and actually did a job with Portland Public Schools, which was the roughest 2 years of my life. But in that 2 years, I was able to actually open the Clarendon School in North Portland, and then also did the rehab on the track and field over at Jefferson, which pretty proud of the blue track out there. That was my idea. So with that said, I do have a lot of vested interest in this part of the city. My dad still lives in North Portland. He actually retired from Coca-Cola from a management job there after 26 years. And he's a deacon at Mount Olivet. Thank you. I guess I'll flip through the slides here. I'm sure most of you have seen this.
Starting on page 7.
That's true.
So with our equity and contracting, we actually put together a roadmap, actually facilitated by Cupid Alexander back in 2016, where we tried to establish some goals and ways to attain those goals. So one of the things we wanted to look at was creating greater contracting opportunities for those MWSBs and culturally specific organizations, and then adding some goals of trying to obtain 30% of our construction dollars going to those firms over the next 5 years, or at that time, the next 5 years. So we've been incrementally increasing that from the city goal of 20% by 2% for the next floor. I guess now we're 2 years into that. So, and then also sort of looking at where we can do more outreach events, and then prioritizing the successful partners that we have that we give funding to. Like I mentioned before, the city has a goal of 20%. We're now at 24%. The workforce participation is still the city's same goals of 18% minority and 9 women. We and my team, actually, the construction coordinators, have partnered with COBID to get more groups certified and on outreach events. I personally facilitate a new sort of practice in the Bureau. We hadn't really had a big push for professional services, and me having the architectural background, I wanted to make sure that we reached out to those groups. And so every year, and the last 2 years, we've been doing a Meet the Developers event where we ask these groups to come meet our partners and see if we can facilitate some sort of arrangement with them. So I don't know if people are familiar with the way that our NOFA system works, where groups come in with basically these ideas, and we're hoping to get funded from us. And so a lot of those times they've already come in with architects and engineers and contractors, and so we want to make sure that they have a chance to meet those groups before they...
Bobby, what's a NOFA?
Sorry, thank you.
Just so for those who don't.
Yes, so it's a notice of funding availability, and I think in the time I've been with the Bureau, we've been through, Carl, 3 or 4 NOFAs, and so that's basically they come through with proposals for their projects and asking for money. And so that goes to the next point, the NOFAs, where we have a plan to ask in those NOFAs that those groups submit a plan of obtaining a 30% MWSB participation for their subcontractor, and then a 20% for the professional services. And just recently with the bond work, we decided to actually put together an RFP, a request for proposal, for some technical assistance and outreach to sort of pad those numbers and make sure we're targeting the right groups and getting those people out there on our jobs. So that actually should be coming out in the next couple months. So the 3 projects that I was talking about today is going to be the Beatrice Merle, the Catherine Rutherford, and then the New Meadows. As you can see there, the dollars amounts associated with those projects as in the construction. And obviously a lot of you were at Beatrice Merle today, very beautiful building. The first slide shows the participation of dollars for a combined of those 3. As you can see, the green indicates the, mine's in black and white, but the MBE, and then the, which is 27%, the women-owned businesses at 1%, and then, of course, the SBs at 6%, and then a large number still non-certified, but obviously over the goals that were set. The next slide shows the workforce diversity in hours. Once again, the green indicates the Hispanic in this case, which is quite a big chunk of 40%. The African Americans at 11%, and then the Asians at 1%, and a slight percent for Native Americans, and of course a good chunk going to the Caucasian. Its percentage is 11. Oh, it's not showing up on the screen. Yeah, it's 11%. And then the next slide is showing the workforce as female and male. The gender gap obviously is quite big there in construction. This is a tough one for anybody to actually crack, but 3% for women. And the final slide shows sort of a distribution of the dollars with the workers throughout the city. I guess the northeast shows 9% of it coming back home, and then the rest of the city, it's 20%, and then outside of the city, it's that 71%. That's all. Any questions?
It says workforce training. Are you providing actual training?
It's a requirement of the contractors to provide the training. So there's a percentage, I want to say 20% of the workforce hours need to go to apprenticeships. And so that's the city's process.
There's one standout that I see.
Sure.
How do we get more women in the slides? I mean, the percentage is so tiny, it's almost non-existent. How do we
Absolutely.
what are you guys doing to just increase that gender on these jobs as well? So I know we have a minority contract, but how do we get more women as well?
That's a very good question. We've struggled with that for quite some time. The whole time I've been there, we've been struggling with that. We've been reaching out to some of the groups that sort of go into recruiting women into the trades. I think it's probably bigger than that. It's something that needs to start in high school and even probably a little bit earlier than that. Growing up, even though I went to Benson, which is a technical school, I strayed away from pretty much anything that got me dirty. So that's why I went into architecture, and because I was at a computer and was able to draw by hand. So that, I think, is the stigma is still around. It's that people feel like it's not a trade that they want their kids to go into. Like there's too much work into it. So I think there's a bigger question of how we get to that. I don't have the answer, but I think we definitely need to be working on that. Yes.
Marlon.
To follow up with that question, I went to school with some young ladies who went into vocational fields, went to PCC, got their certification, but found it just super hard getting hired by companies.
Right.
So have you all thought of some innovative strategic ways to, what's the word I'm looking for, to support those companies who hire women?
We haven't had a solid answer to that. I think we've been reaching out to, like I mentioned before, like the NameX and the name escapes me now, but the tradeswomen and those groups to try to figure out a way that we can be more involved in promoting those situations for not just minorities but women all over. But I think there's definitely a way to do that.
So the word I was looking for was incentives.
Incentives, right.
I mean, have you folks thought of that? Because I know when it comes to incentives, that usually pushes those businesses to actively engage more.
Right. It's a good point. We would definitely take that into consideration.
To follow up on that, I think it's really important to do what you were talking about, to do the recruiting and to reach out to people when they are young. But when we see a gender disparity like this, it's not because women don't want to do this work, it's because women aren't welcome to do this work.
I would agree with that.
And they can be not welcome by not getting hired, they can be not welcome by being uncomfortable on the job site. There's a lot of ways to make women uncomfortable so that we have 3% participation in the workforce by women. So recruiting is important, but that only works if women are welcome.
Sure.
Cupid.
Thanks, Bobby, for the information. I was a part of the process when we were working on this a couple years ago. One of the things that we had projected out there that we got some pushback for was the hard skills versus the soft skills. It would be great, and I think you touched it briefly,
right.
If we could have an additional breakdown next time
Sure.
when you respond, because when we're seeing the numbers, I think there's a difference between someone being the foreman and someone being, just a line employee, and that's like an economic difference.
Sure,
so to
absolutely.
see like 45 people or 45%, it would be great to have a further breakdown of what the positions were.
Absolutely.
Because I think that if we're looking at like including women and including minorities, it would be great to see them across the spectrum. And I know that we were discussing that because there's a lack of architects, and we would like to see and how we can encourage our children and our youth to go into these areas for a succession plan. The only other thing is that it would be great also to do have a little bit more context versus citywide. So we're looking specifically at like North and Northeast, but it would be great to see those numbers compared to the rest of the city's developments that PHB does.
Sure.
There was a great event, shout out to PCRI and Maxine today, and they had really, let's give them it was a beautiful building. I see you, Maxine. And it just reminded me of the emphasis and the impact that this type of development and the investment we have in the community has, and how it makes everyone feel. So it would be great to see that in these numbers next time.
Sure, comparison with the rest of the...
Just to give us a little bit more context.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Just want to know, can contractors come forward with a plan for funding, or is it they can only apply through NOFAs?
Contractor. So the NOFA is directed to our development partners. So the PCRIs, Central Community Concern, IHI, those are the groups that we deal directly with. So we don't directly contract with any of the GCs or the subcontractors. It's a requirement that we put upon our partners to make sure that gets done.
Well, Cupid, you spoke to what I was going to talk about in terms of really delineating the information. It's great to have the numbers kind of conjoined, but more beneficial if we then can identify out of that 45%, what does that look like?
Sure.
You know, I think that's important for us to gain an understanding of. Kind of a broader question, similar to Marlon's question, but just from your perspective, maybe a twofold. Also ask the first one and then determine whether or not I followed up. What have you been thinking about strategically around, well, I guess before I say that, well done in terms of the MWESB numbers and hitting some of the goals. So well done on that. We appreciate that. But as we look at them, there's obviously room for improvement.
Sure. Always is.
Right? Yeah. So the question is the thought around how to do that. What do you guys, what's in your head? What's the discussion?
Yeah, no, I think my feeling, and we kind of talked about this before, is really partnering. I think that the RFP that we're going to be putting out is not just going to be about specific projects, but also just in general how we, as the Bureau, can be more proactive in our approach to gaining better participation. I think, personally, I definitely think it's something that we need to instill into our youth. I mean, that's where it starts. And if PHB can find a way to fund programs that get us in the schools, I think that's where the change is going to happen.
So I presume there's work with like NAMCO,
Yes.
MCIP, that kind of thing.
OWAMI, yes, all that.
Okay. So I was looking for something, that's specific, tangible, doable now.
Right.
That getting in schools, that's great. That's philosophical. It's vision. That's down the road. That's broader than what you can tangibly engage in right now. So
right now, I think what we continue to do is be that outreach. I think our partnership with the certification, since that's really the only way that we have to quantify these numbers, is through the state. So making sure that people that we know in our neighborhoods that can qualify to be certified, get certified, and then help them get on the track to being on our projects with the technical assistance and the outreach.
Thank you.
Another board I sit on, which is All Hands Raised, which is formerly Portland Schools Foundation. The trades are such an important component of right now of our priorities. And I would encourage PHB to be part of it. I agree with you, the stigma is real in schools because high schools are like, what do you mean my kid shouldn't be going to college if they're interested in a trade? We do have that stigma, but I think it's really important that PHB be at the table because I think it's important for the schools to see the opportunities, for our partners to see the opportunities, and for the young people to see the opportunities as well. And I think that the only way we'll see more women and more minorities is intentionality behind it. It's not, people won't do it without an actual concrete plan. And I think that whatever it is, just trying to get that out there would be really, really important. Whatever your goals are to expand women, to expand minorities, and to have us as a committee be able to help you, but really to have those goals. For me internally as a director, I have very specific goals for minority women-owned emerging small business. For all of our people, our consultants, our contractors, staff hiring, all that has that lens on it. And it doesn't matter the excuses behind it. We make sure as an agency that we have that lens. And it's really important, and we're proud to say that of all our contracts, of all our consulting, 75% or higher go to minority women-owned emerging small businesses, but we didn't do it without a plan and intentionality. So I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it can be done. And there are women, 2 of them are in the audience right now, that are in this field, Gina and Maxine. How do we get more of them? Because they eventually would like to retire. So how? No, but I mean, how do we take their expertise, and I'm saying this seriously, and get it to the next generation of women, Because I think it's really important that generation happens. Because if you look in nonprofit development itself, we have not continued a line. It is so male-dominated, and it's very white. So if you look at the people that hold those jobs that Cupid said, how do we start making the change where we see women actually leading the development projects, where we see minorities actually leading the development projects? I'm saying in the nonprofit contracts that you're doing, what is it that we need to do? Because that's where the change will happen, because no matter what, we're a relational business. We have a tendency to hire the people we are comfortable with. So I just want to encourage us as a city and as a bureau to really look at how do we take this wealth and knowledge and make this, next time we see this a year from now, the pie actually expands and isn't so small, especially on the gender one.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate it. Dana, I won't have you come back to the table, but the question I was going to ask you, I guess I'll kind of shift it into a statement instead of a question. As we're talking about the strategy and some of the intentional activity around moving that number for home ownership. Would love to see that strategy. Love to see that thing laid out even before implementation. As soon as you have it laid out, would love to take a look at that. I think it would be good for us to have our eyes on that. Yeah, it's significant. We are at what was proposed a few years ago, and no one can forecast the future, but we are a month and a few days away from what was the original proposed end of our process, if you can believe that. And through many adjustments, roadblocks, issues, unforeseen things, part of that being the increased housing prices and so forth, we find ourselves committed to keep going. And I thank each of you who stepped up to say, yeah, we're willing to ride this thing out. I think we've got significant work to do in a variety of ways. And one of those things, and this is directed at you, or maybe I'll wait for Felicia to come back. To talk about it, because I think there is, I'm just how do I say it? My kids tell me that, hi Felicia, that my nature is to be confrontational, not from the standpoint of argumentative confrontational, but I like to deal with stuff. And it's true, I don't like things lingering there. I just don't. I'd rather have the uncomfortable conversations, work through what needs to be worked through, and then we can decide how we dance from there. I think we need to have mature conversations. And so one of the things I'd like to do, I know we don't have a set meeting for December, but one of the things I would love to do is to have a called meeting specifically to hear from Portland Housing Bureau and nonprofit partners, talk about what the process or progress and problems are within how we've done what we've done, and kind of clear the air, deal with the things that we've skirted and stop skirting, and be very clear and be very specific so we can settle some stuff and look at how do we partner to go forward. Because ultimately this is about community. It's about people. It's about opportunity. It's about families. It's about economic development. It's about access. And if we keep kind of doing this somehow, and it's frustrating that it's not out of me, we're not getting to real issues. And I want to get to real issues so we can settle it and not spend time in our yesterday, but really have a clear path for our tomorrow. So my request of you is whether or not you are in town and / available on the second Thursday of December. It is the 13th, and I have not asked partners if they'd be available, but it's the second Thursday of December. I'd love to, or the first Thursday of December, I'd love to have a meeting where, and not a yell scream meeting, that kind of thing, but one where we can have, responsible conversation and settle some things so we can really move this work so that as everyone who's in the space can be as successful as possible. That's the goal. Ultimately helping families get to this desired end. So give me your feedback. What are your thoughts on that? What say you, Oversight Committee member
I'm all for it. I mean, I don't think we get enough time to really delve into these issues, and it's hard because of Oregon law and way committees work. We can't meet outside of this forum to just talk about stuff without it being considered an official meeting. There's more than 6 or 7 of us.
As long as we're not making decisions, we
Right.
can have a closed session if no decisions are coming out. So we could do a work session that then just talks
Executive
through
session.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yep, we can make it a work session.
I'm all for it.
Excellent. Excellent. Ms. Sheila?
I think it's a great idea. I look forward to it. Maybe even long overdue. So, yes, I'm for it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm for it.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. Then we will work at getting that on the book so we can do just that. Now, since I mentioned, for everyone who did not hear it, what I did mention is that the continued discussion around the maximum indebtedness for the URA and URA expansion is not going to happen tonight. Because one of the parties, the key party to help kind of facilitate, move that conversation forward is sick, and so that is not going to transpire. I do have another question or moment of discussion for the Oversight Committee. We got quarterly reports from the various nonprofit partners. Were there any questions of those quarterly reports from things that you read? We've got a few representatives in the community tonight who could potentially help us through them. It's not in this, it was emailed to us. Nothing at the moment.
I would like to comment.
Yeah.
Just in terms of, for everyone who submitted their reports, they were concise and quick, and all my questions were answered. So I like the fact that it was easy to get through all of them. I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Yeah, oh yeah, thanks everybody who submitted your supports. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Excellent.
Excellent. What we're going to do then is we're going to open it up for public comment. Moving rapidly tonight. Woohoo! So I've got 2 sheets here from individuals who've signed up, and you will have 3 minutes to share. So Suzanne, I believe. Yes. Hi, Suzanne. Hey, you're going to have 3 minutes.
I will try to do it in less.
And you are free to go.
Hi, I am Suzanne Vodricus-House. I am a community member and I work for PCRI. And, you know, tonight I wanted to tell you a little bit of a story. My grandmother, who was single and poor when she lived here, she purchased a home and lived in that home, lived off the equity in that home, retired off that home. My grandmother never had any kind of discrimination that hit her having to do with home loans or covenants or neighborhoods that wouldn't let her in. My grandmother looked like me, she's white. My grandmother was never kicked out of her home because of eminent domain. My grandmother was never pushed out of her home because of gentrification. I think everybody in this room knows what the history is of what this city has done to the African American population. And I think that this program is a very small, good start towards trying to mitigate for some of the things that the city has done. But I'm concerned about some of the things that have happened with this program specifically. I've been working with the people, with folks that have been coming to PCRI for a couple years now. Our organization has been working with this program for a couple of years now. And I feel like the city has been extremely heavy-handed, condescending, and patronizing. I've worked with white organizations before, And I have never, ever experienced the type of patronizing that I have seen with this program against this organization and against this community. I came before this committee a couple of months ago, and I really passionately asked you to try to stop the barriers that you were giving to the people who were participating in this program, and that has not happened. I feel like the people that are participating have to jump through more hoops than anyone would have to jump through in any other program that the city would be putting through. It's getting worse. In the past 3 days, I've met with 8 clients. 2 of these clients have been victims of ID theft. One who had her credit score go from 700s to 300s. I have one person who's having surgery this week. I have one man who is supporting family members who are out of state. I have one woman whose brother was shot and killed at the Moda Center. And I have one woman who I am currently helping with a racial and familial status fair housing complaint. These things are real. These are real barriers. And I just ask you to please stop. I don't know how much teeth this committee has, but it's time to stop. It's not fair to have somebody come into a program and 50% of them are told they can't participate. So, I almost got done.
Thank you very much. Mr. James Posey.
I'm the only person that can complain.
Got 2 more?
Okay, yeah. Good evening. My name is James Posey.
Got 3 minutes, sir.
Okay. Listen, I just want to take a minute. I hope you don't charge me this 3 minutes, but I want to talk a little bit about the structure of what we're doing here tonight. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but you guys kind of talk to yourselves there, back and forth. You have people come and give reports, but you have an audience out here with a lot of people. I'm looking at, you got 25 minutes for the community to speak to you all about the issues that's on their mind. Why won't you reverse that? At least make it 50% for the community to talk to you rather than you all having written reports, which we can't read. Half of these reports here, if you look at it, I can't read it. There's something wrong with this picture. I'm suggesting you all need to flip the script here and let the community in and let them spend more time talking to you about, like the lady who was just up here. You don't have to do it this way. We've been doing this for years with the same results. So I hope you don't take my 3 minutes away from that piece right there. And that had to do with this document here. Nobody can, it's all black. You got a colored screen. How are we supposed to read that stuff? You all get the reports beforehand so you can read it, you can ask them questions, but all the time is spent you guys talking to yourself. Anyway, that's another story. What I want to really talk about is the MSB, WSB thing that we have on the page. I'd like for you to take a quick look at that acronym.
MWESB?
Yeah, take a look at that piece. Do you know what that ESB stands for?
Emerging Small Business.
No, everybody except the brothers.
Everybody except the brothers.
Everybody except the brothers. That's what it means. And listen, when you look at these numbers and you start talking about MSB and WBE, and you start talking about women, you're talking about white women. Almost exclusively, no black women are in these, or have these contracts. So you have to dig deep below those numbers to really see who's participating in these programs, if you all understand what I'm talking about. And even the minority businesses, for example, you got some prominent people walking around here calling themselves minority business, which are really 49% owned by a white woman and 51% owned by a black person who don't show up in this community to get his hair cut. I'm saying these numbers are not real. And this is It's real tragic to watch you all go use the same platform that every other entity in this town is using to do the same thing and get the same results, which is basically zero. And Sheila's over there, she's smirking about it because we've been doing this for about 40 years. It seems like the same thing over and over again. The other thing structurally wrong, the young man that was up here from, the project manager, Mr. Daniels, this is a system where you all take young people, when you put them in these positions, they have to relearn the whole system again. They never really get the full context of the story. They have good intentions, but we're never going to get there if they have to relearn this and people are not sharing the information about what we're doing on these projects. My concern is, there's been a range of disparity studies over the last 25 years that have recommendations and how to do this and so on. None of that information is forwarded to him, I'm sure. He hasn't taken time to look at it, but these recommendations of how to be creative, how to provide incentives. Let me give you a quick example.
You've got 17 seconds.
Okay. There's nothing that precludes the Housing Bureau to taking aspects of this work and setting it aside and contracting directly with minority contractors. Nothing that precludes them from doing it that way. And I think I know my time is up, but I want to share with you all, we can do anything we want to do if we focus on what we want to do. And what I mean to say by that, watch us defy the federal government with the ICE program. We can defy the federal government for people who are immigrants. But African Americans who have been here for thousands of years, seems like 200 years, we can't have a preference program for them to get front row treatment on being gentrified.
Thank you, sir.
You all understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We can do that. We can defy the government. HUD is not going to beat you all on the ground for making a program that gives preferences for people who have been discriminated against for the last 200 years. You guys need to rethink that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Andrea Debnam. Ms. Debnam. Good evening.
Good evening. I just wanted to really address a couple of things that have come up and continue to be repeated about the homeownership process, the expectations, reporting, communication, and whatnot. It has really been stated on a few occasions that PCRI is not communicating and or providing requested information, and I say in quote, in accordance with the terms of the initial award, and that there are reporting issues and overall communication that needs to be addressed. And I just want the committee to know that at no point in this process from the onset was there any agreement, any written expectations, specific terms as it related to reporting and communication during this process. Honestly, from the beginning, the city of Portland really didn't know what this thing was going to look like and have subsequently, along this process, making decisions along the way. And so in the beginning, we believed, because we wanted to be partners in this process, that it was reasonable to provide information on updates, progress of our construction, projected mortgage readiness of our participants. But what we noticed was much of the information provided was only sometimes or not at all shared with the committee, because multiple requests would come our way on information that had already been provided. So I have a copy for each of you because I just want you to know from the very beginning what information was given to us. One was a memo from the former director of PHB, Kurt Krieger, in regards to the funding awards for each of the two participants, and then an actual letter that followed that talked about the actual specific award that was given to us as an organization. That was it. There was no expectations, there was no written documents on how we would communicate moving forward. And so I just think it's important to know that. And in May of 2018, Interim Director Shannon Callahan sat before you all and read a memo in response to your report that was submitted to the mayor's office or about your city council to your concerns. And so she then submitted a memo to you all and whomever else, really addressing kind of those major 5 areas of concern and how the Bureau would move forward in response to those concerns. And I think it's important to know that that process had no consideration. It was not at a collective process with any of the partners, the ones expected to do this work, and how we could collectively come together and address those concerns. So just no consideration. And really another example of how the Bureau has set expectations, but not included the people who were actually charged with doing the work. And so I just think it's important to know it's a difference between I think what the Portland Housing Bureau has done is they've given directives and called them agreements and called them terms of participation or whatever, however you want to lay it out. But in fact, it's been directives. They've made decisions and then they've come back and said, this is what you will do. And when we've chosen not to participate or because we didn't agree with them, then it has been told that we are not being participatory or that we are not in compliance with the terms of the agreement. And so I just want you to know that that's how this communication and that's how things have gone moving forward. Also, you know, it's PCI's position, really, to continue to be a partner, I'm almost done, in an effort to develop successful homeowners. It's the work that we have done in this community for years on years on years. We do not change. We are committed to doing that. And we are willing to provide you updates, but just to you directly. I think what has happened in the past is we have provided information and it's been clear to us that only selective information has been given to you or it's been given to you based on the interpretation of the Portland Housing Bureau, and we don't need them to be the filter for the work that we are doing in the community. We're more than capable of telling our own story. And I think it's important to know, I think we've been moving through this process. I mean, I really look forward to us having a real honest and open and transparent conversation in December, because I think what's happened here is we've not realized who is to be accountable in this entire process. The reality is the city of Portland are the reason that this community has suffered the way that it has, and it has failed this community time and time again. So instead of us taking directives from them, we, the community members, the community organizations, you as the Oversight Committee, we need to be giving them directives. We need to tell them what we want and what we need moving forward. So I really look forward to an opportunity to really further this discussion and really have an honest conversation and put the accountability back where it needs to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrea, you said you had stuff?
Yes, I do have for you. I can give them to you at the end.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you very much. Linda.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We had a good day, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cupcakes were good.
Yes. So I just want to say, kind of piggybacking a little bit on what Andrea have said, but I think we all have even though we're saying the same thing, we have our own interpretation of how we're saying it. But overall, we're concerned that it is hard for the committee to fully respond to the issues presented to them and best serve the needs of us, the Black community, and the agencies like PCRI who are passionately working hard to see more displaced Black households own homes again in North and Northeast Portland. I'm also concerned because follow through around action items between meetings aren't being tracked, communication loops aren't being closed, and information isn't fully conveyed to the Oversight Committee. There are some ongoing issues that we have seen in the terms of communication between the partners, such as PCRI, PHB, and the Oversight Committee. This has been known, but became more evident in the last Oversight Committee meeting when I had asked if you all knew about PCRI and the collaborative, well, not the collaborative, but falling out of the process going through PHC, and you all didn't know that. Given the role of the Oversight Committee, we, PCRI, want to provide additional information and process details from our partnership experience to the committee's attention so that they can have a more holistic understanding of what has played out over the last year to year and a half. I was not able to have a space on the agenda this month, but Dr. Holt, he has already just tonight told you all that he wanted to do a special meeting in December to address these issues specifically, and no other items is going to be on the agenda. I just want to say to the Oversight Committee that you would please be present in entirety. We really need you to be here. We really need you to hear what we have to say. And we need you to hear what the community has to say about the process and how things are going, and not just the reports from the Portland Housing Bureau or filtered through the Portland Housing Bureau, but from us as the partners that are working to get this work done as well. So please, if you can be present. I also want to say I can't do the second Thursday because I'm in the Gospel Christmas this year, and I'll be there. So hopefully everybody can do the first one. I just want to get my plug in.
I appreciate it. That don't work for me.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think it appropriate. Thank you, everyone who came forward. We appreciate it. Thank you for the insights. I'm going to have you come up in just a moment. I appreciate the insights and the feedback. I want to say three things real briefly. One is I've been involved in community engagement, community activities, interactions with groups for 3 decades. And I've never seen a process that is flawless. I've never seen a process that is flawless. But I have seen processes that have been effective. And they've been effective because people have been willing to hear each other and learn and then make adjustments. So my hope is that going forward, especially in the year 2019, that the work we do will be absolutely effective and reflective of the efforts put forward in the beginning. None of us sitting here are sitting here because we don't have other things we could do with our time. We're not sitting here because we have other agendas or motivations that are outside of wanting to do exactly what you've heard, and that's to make sure that the community that is being impacted is benefiting from the work that's going forward. It's not a game. It isn't. It isn't just words coming out of our mouths. This is the work we're committed to. And so how we can improve that and how we can do that better and how we can make sure that everyone, as much as possible, the nonprofit partners and the city of Portland, are being effective and efficient. And that's the work we want to do. And so part of the conversation in December is to air what needs to be aired so we can settle what needs to be settled so we can do what needs to be done. That's our hope. That's our goal. To that extent, something fantastic happened today that I think is worth celebrating, and I'd love to hear from Maxine Fitzpatrick if you would come and join us here at the table. We cut a ribbon at the Beatrice Morrow today.
Thank you, Bishop, and thank you all for recognizing and clapping for the completion of our project today. For us, it's what we do, all right? And we do this every day. And so to have the community become more aware of what we do every day is a great thing, and we're dearly and sincerely appreciative of it. So thank you. What I come to this committee to say today is talk about the challenging work that we do. It's very, very difficult. Right? We wouldn't be in the situation that we're in right now if the work and the opportunities were equitably distributed in our community. So we're an organization, yes, I'm a black female. Our organization, however, is one of the most diverse, racially diverse organizations you'll ever see in the city of Portland. You can go to any other community-based organization, and if you were at our open house today, you will not see that level of staff diversity. I guarantee you that. And it takes every one of us in our commitment to do the work that we do. So yes, it was a wonderful project, but it's what we do every day. So thank you. What I want to share with you tonight is the difficulty that I endure every day trying to run that organization, the racism that is exhibited in the city, in the departments. And I always say to the staff, it's not okay if you treat me nice and you don't treat other people nice. That's not good for me. That doesn't make me happy. So if I'm being treated considerably and then I look and you're not treating my sister and my brother in a considerate way, you're depriving them, you're depriving me. And so I look at it from that perspective. And so when we go out here and we try to do the work we do, and we have the city of Portland stepping on our neck and back every opportunity it has, one of the things that it does, it continue to threaten to take resources from us. So we got a $5-6 million annual budget. We get about $120,000 in staff support from the city of Portland. The money that we get from the city of Portland supports the community. It goes directly into projects. It goes directly to support home buyers who are short resources for down payment and et cetera. So not too many months ago, we were threatened, if you don't do this way, then we're going to take your money. I said, but you're not taking money from PCRI. You're taking money from the community. If we don't allow our clients that we are working with to go through a certain process that they're demanding, and they're not, the Portland Housing Bureau are not specialists in housing counseling and what it takes to get people into home ownership. But yet and still they want to tell us what to do and how to do it. The other thing that happened recently is I got this nasty email, and it's like, we're worried. I'm worried, she said. This is from Shannon. I'm worried about what's going to happen when our director leaves. Who's going to take up that work? This organization is 25 years old, and while we love and value Travis, his leaving should not be thrown up in our faces if this organization is going to go away. I think he resented it. I know I did. And then the other thing, you're not turning in your reports, and you're not giving this information, and you're not providing us with all of this information, and you're being difficult to get along with. In addition to that, to tell one of my sister organizations, someone that I respect and care about, and we work together continuously, that PCRI lacks capacity. I am so sick and tired of hearing the Portland Housing Bureau diminish the work that we do and the capacity that exists in that organization. And then to believe that either you do what I tell you to do, the way we tell you to do it, or we're going to strike resources. And I tell my staff, they say, well, Maxine, they're going to take the money. I said, let them have it. I'm like Serena now. Let them have it. It's gone. $120,000, although helpful in what we do, is not going to stop us from doing what we do. And so instead of the city, and I ask you all, you're the Oversight Committee. You're supposed to be overseeing the Portland Housing Bureau, right?
Absolutely.
Is that not what your charter says?
Absolutely.
Okay. Portland Housing Bureau has flipped that script. They've turned and made PCRI, someone that they have to watch and monitor, or else we are not complying with what we're supposed to be. We haven't done anything but supported and helped and did things in the community that no one else has done. The city is the one that caused all of this pain and suffering in our community, not PCRI. And so I'm about done, Bishop. And so I'm saying all of this to say, please take a look at the charter and what you're supposed to be doing, and compare it to what you're actually doing. I worked and lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we reported constantly to the Housing Bureau, but we did it directly to the commissioners. And we would sit down and we would tell our story and what we were dealing with. We didn't have to filter it through any staff. And if you have a staff that's not really a fair staff, and trust me, you know, we wouldn't be in this situation that we're in right now if everybody was good and proper and did everything like it was, even not everything, but most things like they're supposed to be done. This community has been disregarded, disrespected, and lied on and misrepresented ever since I've been here, and I've been here 25 years. After Commissioner Steen left, we started catching hell from the leadership of this community, and it has continued to this day. So I'm asking you all here, you need to understand what we're doing in the community. Let us tell you what our experiences are like.
Absolutely.
And what it's like to accomplish the things that we do. Everybody thought that the grand opening was great. Yeah, it was, but that's what we do. Everything we do is great. We've got awards from the government. We've got 2 livability awards. We've got awards. We were featured in Fine Home Building. All of these wonderful things, but yet and still you have leadership to tell you that this organization does not have capacity. It started out as a bankrupt entity. Look at where we are right now, and look at what we contribute to this community. Look at how we do what we do. You need to figure out a way that we can better help this community instead of being like a foot on our neck, preventing us from doing the wonderful work that we could do. And
Thank you.
with that, I'm going to shut up.
Thank you.
I didn't plan to say that,
Thank
but
you. Well, I hope we're not a foot on your neck, but this is what I will say. You speak to the very reason for the December meeting. You speak to that very reason. So I will say to everyone who's here, thank you very much for your time tonight. We appreciate your spending some hours together with us on a Thursday, and we will identify the date for us to have this clearinghouse engagement so we can get things moving in the direction they need to move. Have an excellent evening, everybody.